American dream is the dream of making the idealistic American society, regardless of who the person is. The dream might be about being materialistically successful or having freedom. It also might be related to living in an equal society where everyone can have opportunities. The Great Gatsby is one of the stories that shows the American dreams of the 1920s. The epigraph of The Great Gatsby shows the American dream of Gatsby. It shows that Gatsby's dream is having the girl he loves by using his wealth, which is represented as the gold hat. In the novel, Gatsby is a white man who seems very successful in many ways. He is wealthy enough to have big parties every night and has a nice house across where his love Daisy lives. But Daisy was already married to the rich man, Tom Buchanan. Also, Gatsby couldn't be saved from death and failed accomplishing his ultimate dream, which was getting Daisy's love. In The Great Gatsby, the only one that seemed to achieve the dream is Tom Buchanan. Tom seems to achieve his American dream by having it all. Gatsby couldn't achieve his dream like Tom, but at least he almost reached the goal before his death. So, what is the similarity between these two men? They are white men living in America. Then we might say, how about the people who aren't white men? It is true that the American dream is for everybody, but it is agreeable that people who aren't white have less chance to achieve the dreams. So, let's find out about whether or not the American dream is only a myth filled with fantasy and see what the African Americans' dreams were like through some pieces of literature.
Lorraine Hansberry, A Raisin in the Sun was a play about black family and was about racial, gender inequality, and money issues. Many people said that Hansberry's writing was very prophetic and it was criticized as too radical or conservative. It must have been considered radical because of the character Vanessa. She is depicted as a black feminist girl who wants to study and be a doctor. Also, she keeps saying like she isn't going to marry a man. Well, she also has to boyfriend and choose Asagi, who represent the African identity instead of George Murchison. Some might say the play is conservative, since Lena shows a very traditional, old-fashioned attitude. When it comes to issues related to man or religion, to some other critics, the play was just a nice drama about real estate. But it is certain that A Raisin in the Sun is a play which was not only related to black people, but for others to see it had issues related to money, family, and achieving the American dream. So it was uploaded by white press as a universal drama.
The play A Raisin in the Sun is set in the post-war era to 1957 in Chicago. It was the time when the Jim Crow law existed, and it said that the black and white were equal but separated, which actually meant different races aren't equal at all. The African Americans were discriminated in public facilities, in the workplace, and even when they moved into the neighborhood. An example is a case that happened in Levittown, Pennsylvania in the 1950s. People who had dreams of having a better life in the house they owned were living happily in that all-white small town until the Myers family moved in. The Myers family was an African American family, just like the Younger family from the play. While some threw rocks at the Myers and behaved hostile towards them, some welcomed them despite the fact the family is black.
Well, I first read a small article in the newspaper that the first colored family had moved into this community. And following that, why I began to hear on the radio and read in the newspaper that there was some disturbance around this home that these people had bought.
What was your initial reaction?
I was terribly shocked to find that there were people in this community who would be so violently opposed to it. I rather thought that everyone would just accept it as I would.
Was the Why did you select Levittown to live?
We were looking for a place to buy a home. We looked at Levittown, and we liked the homes here. We liked the advantages that Levittown seemed to offer in comparison to other cities. And we understood that it was going to be all white, and we were very happy to buy a home here.
How about your children? Have you talked with them about the Myers?
We have tried to keep the discussions away from the children. I feel that it's something that we adults should solve without bringing the children into it any more than we have to. We're doing it for the children, but I don't feel that they are old enough to understand the problem as it is.
Do you think a Negro family moving here will affect the community as a whole?
Definitely.
In what way?
I think that, well, the property values will immediately go down if they are allowed to move in here in any number.
Can you give a basis for that judgment?
Yes, we used to live in Washington, D.C., and we saw a very good example of that there.
Lorraine Hansberry herself also had a similar situation with the Myers family and the Younger family. Hansberry's father bought a house in Washington Park, which was in a white neighborhood. The time was 1937, and the Hansberry family were attacked by some white mobs threatening to set the house on the fire and throwing bricks and stones towards the house. The situation made them go to the Supreme Court, and they could stay in the neighborhood. Still, the case wasn't totally solved, and there was segregation left. But it still had the meaning that the family confronted the problem. It also gave the motive for Lorraine Hansberry to write a Raisin in the Sun.
Let's see a little more about Hansberry's life. Lorraine Hansberry was born on May 19, 1930 in Illinois, Chicago. She was the first and the youngest African American woman to perform her play on Broadway. Her writings are mostly about the struggles and liberation of African Americans, and she also dealt with racism. In addition, she joined the staff of the newspaper for African Americans and also came out as a black civil rights and lesbian activist. But she died at a young age, which was 34. Still, she is remembered as a successful playwright, which is shown in the fact that her play Raisin in the Sun was translated into 35 languages, which shows its importance and popularity. The first line of the epigraph asks us, what happened to a dream deferred? It says that the dream dries up like a raisin, gets worse like an infected wound, smells like rotten meat, or like a candy uneaten for a long time, which cannot be eaten. And the last line means that the oppressive conditions makes the angry people start a riot, which probably means the civil rights movement of the African Americans. So does the American dreams of the younger family get deeper in the play? Well, the character dreams aren't exactly fulfilled, but Mama and Ruth were able to escape the ghetto of Chicago and bought a new house which can keep the family stable and safe. And even Vanessa had a hard time finding her identity throughout the play and didn't exactly become a doctor. The story shows that she plans to marry Asagi instead of the rich assimilationist George Murchison and study medicine in Nigeria. Also, Walter Lee's dream of having a record store and having a lot of money couldn't be fulfilled. But he learned his lesson that there are things more important than wealth and becomes a better man. Their dreams were all deferred at first, looking like the Raisin in the Sun hopeless and cheerless, but they didn't rot or melt like the meat or candy, but kept a film for hold the dream, just like Mama kept taking care of the plants and the family. And at last, even if they didn't exactly achieve their dreams, their future is shown as bright and hopeful, like Mama's plans that was alive in the last scenes of the play. The first part of the place might have been lifeless and angry, just like the palm from epigraph, but the ending is way much nicer than expected, showing that achieving the American dreams is hard for African Americans, but possible too.
There is another play related to A Raisin in the Sun. The play Fences, written by August Wilson, is also a play about a black family and their dreams. It is interesting that they are both set somewhere in the 1950s after World War II and show the racial struggles of African Americans. They also deal with similar themes and the characters are comparable. A Raisin in the Sun and Fences are plays that are about African American families having problems related to discrimination, money, and their dreams. Especially, black women play important roles in these plays. Lena Younger in A Raisin in the Sun and Rose Maxson in Fences are the ones who try to protect and keep the family together. And Lena's plant, which represents the love and care of her family, seems quite similar to Rose Maxon's fence to keep the family inside. Benita Younger and Rose's son Corey Maxon also can be seen as similar since they both try hard for their dreams despite the hardship. Walter Lee Younger and Troy Maxon are also comparable since both of their dreams got deferred. Walter Lee wanted to invest in a liquor shop, but later he got the money stolen and couldn't fulfill his dream. Troy Maxon wanted to be a baseball player, but due to discrimination towards the black people, he couldn't be one and only work as a trash collector. Also, they're similar since both of them are fathers, but Walter Lee can be seen a little better than Troy Maxon. Walter wants the liquor store in order to make money and make his son Travis have a better education and life than him. Also, at the end of the play, he becomes a mature man, but Troy doesn't support his son playing football and also isn't faithful to his wife and cheats with another woman. The difference among the two plays is that A Raisin in the Sun's ending is more hopeful than Defense's, implying a brighter future of the family. The play A Raisin in the Sun tells us the fact that achieving the American dream is not only for white men but also for African Americans and even for women, which proves that the American dream isn't just a myth filled with fantasy. In addition, in the pieces of literature we refer to, dreams are mostly associated with money as a means to achieve the dream or the goal itself. They all show us that the dreams, not only of the Americans, aren't so different regardless of the different time and races. So, what can we learn from A Raisin in the Sun? In the process of achieving our dream, there are always obstacles and failures. But we shouldn't let go of it and confront the problem just like the Younger family and Hansberry herself did.